Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, the podcast where Senator Joseph Cryan talks about the latest in New Jersey's 20th Legislative District. This week's guest, Elizabeth Board of Education Vice President Maria Carvalho.
To another Cup of Joe, and we really had some fun with these as we get a chance to talk to folks about their impact in the community. And today I am exceptionally honored to have the great Maria Carvalho join us today. A person I admire from a distance and also from up close, as I've seen her work firsthand, but I've also seen her impact on people that has literally changed generational lives. Maria, it's a real pleasure and an honor. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. You're very kind.
Well, I have two eyes. I can see. So that said, Maria, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the varying aspects of your career. You know, you've been a great public servant, and we're going to talk about that, I hope, a lot more. I'd say just a community advocate, but you're more than that. You're an advocate for each individual. And the way you personalize people and the way you fight for them is something I hope you expand upon, because I think it's a big deal as we close out Women's History Month and get a chance to talk about that impact and what you do for families. You also serve on today, for example, you're the Vice President of the Board of Education.
I am.
And with a great deal of commitment in the city of Elizabeth. I need to talk about you. We are colleagues in terms of the fact that we both have the privileges of being the municipal chairs of the Democratic Party.
We are.
We are. And you do so much more than that. But you know what you do each and every day? You shatter glass ceilings.
Sure try to.
And I think you accomplish that with a great deal. Do me a favor. Let's begin at the beginning. Talk a little bit about how did you end up in the city of Elizabeth? You know, your career. What influenced you, your young life, and how you got to this point a little bit.
Well, I've been in Elizabeth as far back as I can remember. My parents immigrated to the United States when I was 4, and I grew up in Elizabeth, and that's where my heart is. My parents taught me from a young age that giving back to the community is probably one of the most gratifying and best thing that you can do to be a good person. And it's always been a motto in my family is, you know, just be a good person, you know, raise yourself and help others raise themselves up. And that's what we did from a little girl, whether it was working and volunteering through school or at the youth groups or at church. That's how I was raised, and that's what we do.
Tell me a little more about your parents. What did they do?
My mom, oh wow, my dad was a Green Beret. He was, wow, my dad was a Green Beret in Portugal, and when we came to America, he did everything and anything for me never to feel as if I didn't have. So I'm blessed to be able to say that I don't know what it is not to have anything that I've ever needed, because my parents worked night and day to give it to me. I have a sister who was 11 years old, younger than me, so I was an only child for a really long time. So Mom and Dad really focused on making sure that I lived the American dream. My mom is a telephone operator, has been for 35 years for the city of Elizabeth. And my dad worked for Papetti high-grade eggs for 25 years. And then he worked for the locals for a while before he retired. They're just hardworking people who care about their family. And that's the one goal that brings us all together is family.
What made them make the decision to come to the United States?
My grandfather worked as a mechanic in Portugal for a British company that was very big out in the United States, and he was that good of a mechanic, and they found him and brought him to America. And through that, it was a trickle effect. My grandmother came, my aunts and uncles, and my mom, who got married very young, ended up married with a daughter, and my grandfather, you know, he wanted all his kids together in America, and he put a petition in for my mom and my dad to come to America with me. My dad had to wait, I think, an extra 6 or 7 months to finish the Army out there, and then we came to Elizabeth, New Jersey.
That's great. Any particular reason for Elizabeth?
It was my grandparents lived in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and that's where we landed, and that's where we ended up staying. I mean, we literally landed at the time in New York, and my grandfather drove us to 313 South Fifth Street, and my parents worked really hard. My grandparents moved on, bought other homes, and we literally moved from there for a year, and my parents saved enough money to buy 313 South Fifth Street to move back.
How great is that?
Yeah, really great.
Real source of pride, I bet.
Absolutely.
Okay. So your work ethic, the things that we see today, your work ethic, it sounds, and your community service developed through your folks and that kind of influence.
Absolutely.
Is that where your love of the city of Elizabeth came from?
Yes. The city of Elizabeth welcomed my family, and that's where I was raised. That's where I went to school. That's where I got married. That's where I raised my children. That's where I am now.
I'm going to ask you a little more about to brag on your family, because I know not only do you like to do that, I like to hear it. But if you could, talk to me a little bit about, you've been part of the fabric of the city of Elizabeth and moving forward for almost the past 3 decades. I know it's stuff you don't like to talk about, but do me a favor. Take us a little bit through your career. As I said, you've broken a number of ceilings, glass ceilings. Please talk a little bit about it.
So in 2014, I ran for the Board of Education, and I won. It was probably one of the hardest elections that in all the years that I've been involved in politics, and I've worked on a lot of campaigns, but wow, that was a tough one. And I think that together with my team on the Board of Ed, we have worked and made a lot of differences, not in building buildings, not in building structures, but in really touching people and making differences in people's lives. I pride myself in being around good people and doing things because they're the right thing to do and not just because they're the popular thing to do. And I think that the people around me are focused and do that with me, and that's what makes it work. I also work for the city. I've been there, wow, I've been working for the city since I was 14 years old. I started working there in the summer when I was a kid out of high school. Back then, I think you could work there before you were in high school. I can go back and remember the times where I was cleaning ashtrays in the health department. And I worked my way up the ranks from being a clerk to a dispatcher to a housing inspector to a license inspector to a construction inspector. And today I'm proud to say that I am the Director of Planning and Community Development in the city that I love.
Which is a new challenge for you. I believe it only began this year. Talk a little bit about why. I mean, you're certainly prepared for it and just what you spoke about, but talk a little bit about the challenges of that position, which I believe you're also the first for that.
Yes, I am the first female in a man's world, definitely, especially with dealing with the construction department and the zoning department and all of the development. Usually I am one of, maybe most of the times, the only female in the room. I've kind of gotten used to it, but it's when you step back, it is definitely a proud moment, and I hope that I'm showing other young ladies that it can be done. And everything that I do, I think that I try to bring it back, whether it's to the Board of Ed or to the youth group or to the young ladies, to show them that there really are no ceilings to shatter. We've shattered them. We're there. We just have to make sure that we keep rising.
And I do want to talk to you a little more about the team you're with, and you speak about that all the time. It's one of the reasons people gravitate to you. It's never I, it's we, when it's always team. But with that said, I do want you to, the importance of the position you're in now, the housing, the community development, is such an important part of the fabric of the city of Elizabeth. And tell us a little bit more about it, because I don't think most folks that can hear our voice may truly understand just how important that is.
So my department pretty much runs everything from the vision to when you turn the key. If you have a vision and there's an area in need of redevelopment, an area that maybe has not been looked at in a long time, and we can get in there and we can come up with a vision to make it better. It's all about figuring out a way to make your city a better place, not only as it relates to building a home, but where people can work, where people can go to school, where everything comes together full surface. And in my department, we have all of that, from the zoning department, where it's all about the land use and how you use your land, to the construction department, making sure that people are safe, that you're not living in a basement or an attic that's not safe. We bring it all together, and the community development aspect is about making sure that our community is in a safe and in an enjoyable area where we can all be together and be able to succeed together. And I think that if we all do a piece of it, if all of this puzzle comes together, that it works. And you see it. You can't make a left or a right in Elizabeth without seeing new development. You can't make a left or a right without seeing a school. And we figured out a way to make it a place where people want to live and not just drive to.
And you've certainly done that, right? The population in the city of Elizabeth continues to grow as people realize just not only what a wonderful city it is, but what a well-run city it is as well.
It is. We're a good team.
So with that said, let me talk to you. Let me reverse track a little bit and switch back to the Board of Education, because that 2014 race was legendary, no doubt about it. But I do want to talk to you about the folks you work with, and if you can, just share a couple stories, not only about maybe the students, the families that you've helped. I think it's important that, again, folks that can hear our voice understand the kind of role that you can play in public service.
So being a Board of Education commissioner means that I can keep my finger on the pulse. I can help the children get the services that they may not be receiving. I think a lot of my work, not a lot, most of my work involves speaking with parents and making them understand the services that we can provide for their children and how to maneuver through the system. You know, we're a monster. We have 5,000 employees. We have 32 schools. We have 9 high schools. Someone coming in, moving into Elizabeth, or something as simple as going from 8th grade to high school can be as challenging, if not more challenging, than applying for college. So being able to help a parent maneuver through the system to get that done, that's what we do. We're the ones that make sure that the bus is on time, that the books get there. We're the ones that make sure that the children get the services that they need.
Now, I saw you last before this conversation yesterday at an autism event, right? And I noticed more than a couple of young people coming up and saying hello to you as a Board of Education member, and obviously there for a community that deserves a voice as well. Talk to me a little bit about the student interaction that you actually do, even though as a member you're actually the chair of and run those things in terms of policy. Talk a little bit more about that.
That's probably my favorite part. I try to meet with high school young ladies at least once a month, whether it's just to have a Coca-Cola or a slice of pizza. We sit, we meet, we talk. I want to know what their challenges are. I want to know where they're going to go to college, if they're going, or why they're not going, or what's going on at home. I can't tell you. I think I have 100 times over. I tell you all the time that we paint a pretty picture all the time, but there's real challenges, and I believe that that is my job and the Board of Education commissioner's jobs, to peel the onion and find out what those challenges are, because we have the power to help fix them.
So you make adjustments based on the student stories that you hear?
Absolutely. Every day.
Every day?
Every day. And
do you find that as you look through those challenges that there's a consistent pattern, or they tend to be more individual, or how do you look for policies that make real change like that?
They're different. They're all different, and we make changes based on the issues and the challenges that are happening in real time. And we're blessed to be able to have different committees that do that. And we're able to, because we have our feet on the ground and our fingers on the pulse, we're able to bring these things back and say, this is why we needed to do that, because that young lady is homeless and she's sleeping on the couch, and we need to figure out a way for those people who are taking care of her to be able to help her provide her services. We bring real issues to the table, and then we build our policies around them.
So this may seem like a little bit of a layup, but your vision of the role of schools in terms of the community might be a little bit different than what a lot of people would perceive it to be.
I'm sure it is, but that's the difference between us and them.
Well put. What, in terms of programs and things like that, are there particular ones that you want to point out or note in Elizabeth that kind of stand out for you, or different changes that you've made?
I love Groundwork Elizabeth. I love that Groundwork works in the gardens with the kids. I love that Groundwork not only, and that's one of many organizations and nonprofits that I work with and I sit on, but Groundwork is literally the root of everything. They have a garden in every school. They read books to kids in the public libraries. They bring everyone together, whether it's police, fire, and I'm a big advocate for a police department. I think that children need to know who the officers are. They need to know who's walking through the door, and that they're coming in because they're coming in to help them and not because they're taking mom or dad away. I'm a big advocate of organizations that bring people together, and Groundwork is one of them. The YWCA in Elizabeth is an amazing program, and I love to volunteer there. Josephine's Place, they can't do more for people. The Jewish Y, I don't know how we have so many amazing organizations in the city, and all of them together intertwine and work together to build a community. So you can make a call. I had a call this morning. I had a lady, she has a 21-year-old special needs son, nonverbal, who is graduating from high school this year. And what's next? And she couldn't speak more about how we prepared her for what's next. And she's looking for work for him and making sure that when she's gone, that someone's going to take care of him. And she couldn't speak more about all of the programs and all the people that got her to today's step. But we have to work about tomorrow's. But it all comes full circle, and everyone works together, and that's the only way it's going to happen.
I loved your comment there, and could hear it in your voice. I have to give a shout out to Groundwork as well. One of my, they've expanded a little bit. They helped, and you see them in, as you mentioned, fire departments and
everywhere.
It is fun to me to watch firemen argue over who grew the best tomato because Groundwork's had a little
absolutely.
They really do.
We grow gardens in the schools, and that was one of the things that I really wanted to do. And we have one in every school. And I can't tell you, when you see the kids touching the milkweed, because we tell them that the butterflies are going to come, and they're like, "What do you mean?" And then in the springtime, they have the little butterfly gardens outside, and there they go, and they send me pictures showing me how we didn't believe you, but this happened, or that they didn't believe that a tomato sauce came from they believe that tomato sauce came from a jar and not from a tomato. We've been trying to grow pizza gardens, where we put like peppers and tomatoes and basil in the gardens, and then go back to the schools and actually make pizza with the kids, and they're like astonished that this is actually happening.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And by the way, you get to take not only that, and I don't want to sound like too much of a cheerleader, but I think we both share the amazement of what Groundwork can do. But when you walk, for example, on the Riverwalk and different places in the city of Elizabeth, a lot of that is through Groundworks, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah, they really do have a special commitment.
They
really
do.
Hey, so let me kind of transition. So you're part of, as we mentioned, the Board of Education. You're part of the development and the planning in the city of Elizabeth now. You've also done a great deal of community work, right? And I want to lead with one because I think it's just such an incredibly huge challenge. Talk to me about the Portuguese Club and the work that gets involved and all that goes with that.
Talk about a monster. Well, yeah, the Portuguese Club. We're 5,000 members, and we actually have one of the first Groundwork gardens at the Portuguese Club.
Yes, you do.
And we take turns becoming president of the club. And basically being president of the club means you have to manage it as if it's your home for the time that you're there. And usually it's about 2 years. And it just means that you have to be the first one out of the gate and the last one home every day. Like tonight, I will be there cooking in the kitchen and making sure that bathrooms are clean and the floors are mopped. And I know you don't like me to say it all the time, but it all goes back to teamwork. And I have an amazing board, God bless them, who doesn't matter how many times I text on a Sunday morning, on a Friday afternoon, need bartenders, need somebody to cook, peel potatoes, onions. I think the first call I got before I walked in here was someone asking me, is someone coming to cut the steaks tonight? So it's a lot of work, but it's also the place where we come together and remember where we came from. Our pride of being Portuguese, and also our pride for our grandparents and for our parents, and how we can raise our children in an environment where they don't forget their heritage, because that's so easily forgotten here. It's a place where I'm able to bring my friends and show them a little bit about my home.
Mm. And doesn't the club also, I think, in traditional language, traditional music? There's some incredible.
Yeah, we have a Portuguese school that is actually certified by Portugal. So if you are to graduate from the school, you can actually go to university in Portugal with would be equivalent to a high school diploma from here, which is very difficult because these young children go to school all day. They still play sports. They still have their regular life, and then they have to go there 2 to 3 times a week for 3 hours a night, and it's intense. But they do it, and they like to do it. They want to go. They want to learn, because we incorporate everything else into it. And the dancing is it's like folklore. They practice every Friday night. Practice doesn't start until 9 o'clock at night. Wow. And I can tell you that sometimes it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, guys, let's go. It's time to go home, get out. And they travel. Last year they went to Portugal. They've gone to Canada. They travel all over the United States. And it's just such a sense of pride to see them showcase dancing from their grandparents and great-grandparents, and to actually have young people want to. We have, I think we have close to 80 little ones. 80 in our dance group here in Elizabeth.
That's absolutely fantastic.
And they show up every Friday.
80?
Yeah, it's insane. It's like a football team.
So you keep that next generation keep coming and coming.
They're coming. I don't know where they're coming from, but they're coming. I don't. People travel. They come, and we're also blessed to have in Elizabeth the club where everyone comes back to, and we also have the Portuguese church. So if you're here for the weekend, you can go to church. You can come to the club. We have things at the club on Thursday nights, Friday nights, and Saturdays. So it keeps everyone pretty busy. And then the outdoor barbecues, and food always helps.
And good food too.
Yeah, you make food, they come.
They do.
They come.
Even the Irish come for the food. Yeah. So I will tell you, having the honor of being a senator, one of the greatest days I had was sitting on the stage when the ambassador came and the president of Portugal. And I wonder if you could just share a little bit about that and what that meant to the community.
Oh wow, that was so. The president of Portugal came to Elizabeth, to our club, for the first time ever. Our club is 103 years old, so that was that for everyone. Everyone came. I think we put out all the bells and whistles. I don't think we could have done more. I believe he was impressed with the reception that he received, not only from the adults, because you always expect the adults and everyone's always going to be in a suit and tie, but from the children. All of the school children were there. They wrote him letters. They spoke to him in Portuguese, which he was impressed with. And the ambassador from Washington, he is probably one of the most amazing people that I have ever had the pleasure to work with. He never, ever comes to this part of the country without stopping in and making a point to making sure that we know that he cares. He was just here for our anniversary in March. When we go to Washington, whatever event we go there for, Palcas, or if we go there to represent Portuguese government, he always accepts us, lets us into his home, treats us as equals. He makes us understand that he is there to represent us, and we are very appreciative of that.
That's so cool.
It really is. He welcomed us into his home about a year and a half ago. The kids, we had the whole group, the kids dancing. He had them in his backyard. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, don't touch anything. But and he tells the story all the time, and everyone comes to Jersey and they go to Newark, and he says, I cannot leave without stopping in Elizabeth, and he always does, and we thank him for that.
So you were the Grand Marshal of the Portugal Day Parade.
I was a few years ago. Yeah, I was. That was probably one of the biggest highlights of my life.
So when we talk to folks a little bit, if they want to engage a little more, one of the ways that they can do it without actually coming to the club, if they chose to, they'd be welcome, I assume.
Absolutely.
But if they didn't, there's festivities coming up in just the next few weeks, right? Maybe a little bit more, but the flag raising where they get to see the great dancers and enjoy Portuguese culture, and Portugal Day itself with the parade. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So you don't have to be Portuguese to be a member of the Portuguese Club. We welcome everyone as long as you want to be part of our community. So the first Sunday in June every year is our parade, and that Friday will be our flag raising in front of City Hall. This year will be an extra special year because we're going to unveil our monument that we've put together in front of right in Freedom Lane, right across from City Hall. And it works out because we're going to unveil it and we're going to raise the flag, and then we'll be back at the club that Friday night. On Saturday, we have a soccer shootout. We'll be building floats, and we will have a party at the club outside, an outdoor picnic. And then on Sunday, our parade starts at 2, and we are not on Portuguese time. We start at 2. And we will be at the club by 4:30, 5 o'clock, and we will have our outdoor party with music and food, and everyone is welcomed.
And you'll be tired on that Monday.
I will be flipping probably sardines all day Sunday and Saturday. This year's a little different since I'm president. I will be working a little harder.
So let me transition to a couple other points I wanted to talk to. You mentioned them a little bit. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about the monument, and then transition that over. You know, one of the things that you do a lot of work on over the years is youth soccer.
Oh, yes.
So maybe could you talk a little bit about that?
So soccer first. My boys, I have 2 boys, 2 grown adult men. My oldest is a police officer in Elizabeth. Shout out to Elizabeth Police Department. And my youngest actually works for the county. He works for the One Stop. They both started to play soccer at the age of 4 for Elizabeth Youth Soccer. And being who I am, I can't just sit on the sidelines. So day 2, I think I was soccer mom, and then I think I was coach for a little bit, and then I realized I didn't know that much about soccer, so other than liking to watch it. So here we are, oh my goodness, almost 30 years later, and I sit on the soccer board still with an amazing group of people, Carlos Bastos and Mike Silva, Rose Neves, and Isabel Bastos, who do nothing in their lives short of wanting to help kids. And we presently have 23 traveling teams and a rec team of over 100 kids that practice on Saturday mornings and play. Soccer is just part of who we are, being Portuguese, I think. If you know a Portuguese person, there's a soccer game on their TV, and our kids were raised, and that's where we made our families. Today, my children still call the gentleman who coached them coach. My husband still gets calls at home, hey coach, what's going on? It's just a family, and if your children play a sport, whether it be baseball or soccer or basketball, you can understand as a mom. That's where we spent our Mother's Day. That's where we spent our Father's Day. We were at tournaments. We were traveling. So that's how we built it. And Elizabeth Youth Soccer is known statewide, and our children travel all over, and I'm really proud of it.
That's great.
The monument. So there is a park. It's called Freedom Park in front of City Hall. And organizations are able to petition to City Council for a plot of land in order to honor someone from your country who helped bring them to freedom or did something that was peace related. There's an ordinance that breaks down everything that you have to comply with in order to build. And about 2 years ago, I spoke to Councilman Grova and Commissioner Granados and Diane Barbosa and Stephanie Goncalves. And I said, hey, how about we do this? And they're like, here you go again. Have another bright idea. And I'm like, come on, guys, we can do this. So I went back to the Portuguese club and I spoke to the president at the time. And then I went to the church and I spoke to Father Nuno and I spoke to the president of Portugal Day. And I said, come on, we can't 100 years from now, today, think that people are just going to walk through these streets. And we didn't matter. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, come on. So we went on a road trip, field trip to front of City Hall, and I showed them what other organizations had done. The Cubans, the Venezuelans, there's some beautiful monuments there. And I said, you see, it doesn't matter. We're going to come and go, but these monuments are going to be here forever, guys. So they said, okay, start working on it. And here we are, and we're going to unveil.
It's exciting.
It is. It's little things.
Well, it's a couple years' work coming to fruition pretty soon.
Yeah.
And, you've done so much as to kind of move this transition over a little bit. I do want to talk to you about the next generation. How do you inspire, or how do we talk about, and how do we get young people, and what do you see in terms of that, especially as we talk about women's history? Where can we do better?
We can't be afraid to let them work. We can't be afraid to let them speak, and we can't hold them back. So many times with everything in our lives, I speak for myself. I'd rather do it than ask for it to get done. And I speak for myself where I say that I have made a very big effort in making sure that I ask people to be by my side, to learn. I think if you want a really good example about it, the best organization that I sit on, that I see the future, is the parade committee that I sit on, where we all have tasks. And Michelle Alfonso is the president this year. We have so many young leaders on this committee that I know that there will be a parade for 30 more years, because we're not afraid to let them work, let them do. It's okay. You have to be able to let them go.
It's a hard thing for people to do, is to let it go.
Oh, well, for all of us, because you have to admit that there's a new generation coming, and but if you don't, then it ends, and that's a problem.
And you want to keep it going.
Oh, absolutely.
This has been one of the most enjoyable episodes we've had.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, very much so. And I do want to, when I think of Maria Carvalho, and I suspect folks that leave this podcast will say the same, is it safe to say church, family, community, and leaving it better than you found it?
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's been an absolute honor to talk to you today. Thanks for joining us for A Cup of Joe, and join us again next time for the next Cup of Joe. Thank you all.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of A Cup of Joe, hosted by Senator Joseph Cryan. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you again for another cup.